Welcome to Breathe In, Scream Out, a podcast for feeling it all, one breath and scream at a time. I'm Katie Healy, your guide through this sacred mess called life. Here in this podcast, we'll feel everything. We'll cry, we'll laugh, we'll scream, and maybe scream again. Let's get into it. Welcome back to Breathe In, Scream Out. Thank you so much for tuning in. Today's episode is a solo episode all about Virgo season, our Virgo new moons, ES2, our Pisces full moon, some things that are happening in the stars cosmically. And at the end of the episode, I'll actually break down how this is affecting you, this eclipse season, and a little bit more to come in 2026, how this season is affecting you by your rising sign. But as always, before we do any of that, I hope this episode is finding you exactly where you need to be. And before we get into all of the facts and the offerings for this Virgo and eclipse season, let's take a moment to start the way we always do, with a scream. So just go ahead and close your eyes. Find yourself in a comfortable, private, semi-private place if you can find it, just where you could take a moment for yourself. If you're seated or standing, just feet beneath you, a few breaths, just as you normally would. In through your nose, out through your nose, in through your nose, out through your mouth. This episode is coming to you after one of our Virgo new moons, just on the heels of our Pisces full moon lunar eclipse. So the feelings are feeling for sure. I can even feel it recording this episode before this full moon eclipse has even happened. So we'll just take a moment here to give ourselves the release that we need. We'll take 3 rounds of breath. The first 2, we'll just let out a sigh or a sound. The third one, we'll make some sound together. I'll guide us through those, but feel free to take all the time you need. Take a deep inhale through your nose. Sigh out through your mouth. Another deep inhale through your nose. Another sigh out. This final round of breath on the exhale will release some sound. If you can, right out into your space. If you need to grab a pillow, if you're in your car or a public space, maybe a little less sound, more stomp of the feet, lose your shit in a different way. I'm going to make some sound into my hands, but we'll breathe in together, breathing it all in. Sound out on the exhale. Giving yourself whatever kind of release you need in this moment. Pent up emotion, energy. And then just letting yourself settle back to your natural breath, into your body. Feeling your seat beneath you, your feet beneath you. Reconnecting to your breath. And then when you're ready, just flutter open your eyes. Come back into your space. Maybe rub your hands on your legs. Return to your body. A good practice for any Virgo Pisces axis. And Lord knows this season we most definitely need all the space, feeling, opening we can get. Eclipse seasons are always really heightened times, and dating back to the beginning of time, before we had any access to understanding what was happening when the sun or the moon would be eclipsed. People literally thought, our ancestors thought, the world was ending, rightfully so. Now we have more information, more knowledge, more understanding, and still sometimes we act like the world is ending. And I know that feeling all too well, but this is a reminder that astrology is just information. It's experiencing people, things, the cosmos in real time. It's not something to be feared. It's just something we can ground into. And we definitely need that grounding in any eclipse season, but especially this one. So to get into the meat of it, of what's happening, like I shared at the start of our episode, 2 new moons usually happens every year where we get 2 new moons, an extra new moon. Last year was in Capricorn, this year's in Virgo. So 2 new moons in Virgo. The first one was on August 23rd in 0 degrees Virgo. We don't always talk about degrees in here, but I wanted to offer that for these new moons because it's helpful and important information. We have a Pisces full moon lunar eclipse, or had one. I'm recording this before we had it, but we had one on September 7th in 15 degrees Pisces. And then we have one more new moon at the end of this Virgo season. It is on September 21st. It's a partial solar eclipse, and it's at 29 degrees in Virgo. Specifically, these new moons in Virgo, 0 degrees is the beginning, 29 degrees is the final degree. So we really have a chance in this Virgo season to embrace the fullness, the full cycle evolution of Virgo energy. And we have this total lunar eclipse in Pisces for a full moon, or had, on the 7th. Now, depending on where you live, you might not be able to see it. We won't be seeing that lunar eclipse, or we didn't see. I keep talking in present tense when it hasn't happened yet, but it has happened. There are other parts of the world where they were able to see it. I believe China, Australia, so the other side of the world was able to see that total lunar eclipse on September 7th. And we're just coming off this episode, releasing a few days after, on the heels of that. In general, this season, always in Virgo and Pisces energy, this access, whether it's end of August through the middle of September or the middle of February, it's Pisces season through the beginning of March, we always experience this Virgo Pisces energy. That's the access, the siblings, and this season in particular, given that this full moon is happening in Pisces, these eclipses are happening in Virgo and Pisces. The themes are sudden endings, unexpected beginnings, surrender, healing, purifying, which has undertones of Virgo and Pisces, but in general is always eclipse season. You might feel within a 6-week span, your life changes without even recognizing from start to finish how much you needed the change, were ready for that change. Things can change on a dime. And in addition to this eclipse season, Saturn, the planet of discipline, karmic life lessons, has also moved back into Pisces for one final round until February 13th. And it won't be in Pisces again for another 28 years. So we're really wrapping up, again, these endings in a lot of these themes of Pisces energy, especially this current season with the full moon. And I like to always say that eclipse season just heightens the energy of a new moon and a full moon. New moons are for beginnings, full moons are for endings, and it just magnifies that on a larger scale, this eclipse energy. And this powerful time or portal is really working around healing our deepest wounds around worthiness, really stepping into our gifts, what we came here to share. And it makes me think about how often do we miss out on our beautiful connections, experiencing moments because we need to be in control of it. This Virgo Pisces energy comes up against that effort, grounding, analysis, structure, order, organization, and also this idea that we can only control so much, that we need to be open to trusting the universe, surrendering to our experience, faith that it will all work out as it was meant to. I don't like the saying everything happens for a reason. Maybe one day I'll embrace it more, but I say in my own way, everything happens as it should. When I look back on all of the things that have unfolded in my life, I can trust and know, even if I still don't love it, that it all unfolded and is continuing to unfold as it should. So before we get too much into Pisces energy, let's start with the season that we're in, Virgo. And I shared this on my Virgo new moon post, and I share it often, but I am from a family of heavy Virgo energy. So astrology is not just meant to be analyzed and talked about, it's meant to be experienced. And no one has experienced more Virgo energy maybe than me, except an actual Virgo. And the parts of my chart that I am meant to karmically release, let go of, work through are in Virgo. So my mother, Maureen, Virgo Sun, Moon, Mercury, Venus. My sister, Lauren, Virgo rising, Virgo Mercury, Virgo Venus. My dad was a Virgo Moon. I don't have his birth time, unfortunately. In Ireland, they weren't putting the time on the birth certificate. So I don't have his time, but I would bet, I'm not a betting woman usually, but I would bet he had a little more Virgo in there. And after I posted my Virgo new moon post, one of my dad's cousins, my grandmother and her mother were sisters. My dad's mom, her mom were sisters. She commented that she is a Virgo. Her daughter is 2 days after her in a Virgo. Her brother is a Virgo. So clearly it is not just my theory that in immediate family systems, in like our nuclear family, mom, dad, siblings, but even beyond that, that astrology can repeat. And these patterns repeat, and what we're meant to learn repeats. And I am Virgo South Node, which we'll get into, and Virgo Lilith. So things I'm meant to release, work through, is why when I started to really dive deep into astrology, it became so helpful for me just to understand why I did feel so out of place in my family system in a lot of ways. And that's not meant to feel bad for me. It's just why I felt like the black sheep in a lot of ways is because the way they do things is the way I'm learning to undo things in a lot of ways. So happy birthday to all my Virgos. There's many of you I love. My Virgo mother is my greatest teacher. She has taught me so much about being capable and commitment and diligence and discipline. And she has also taught me so much about the way perfectionism and control can get in the way. And it's things that I see deeply seated within myself as well. All those things that I need to embrace and let go of too. And Virgo season in general is especially this one, these degrees of the first new moon in 0 degrees in Virgo, second new moon in the last degree of Virgo is an opportunity to really evolve into what Virgo wants to teach us. If there was a healer archetype in the zodiac, in its fully evolved self, it would be Virgo. I also say everyone calls Capricorn the workhorse of the zodiac. Virgo is right up there with them. And Virgo season is our invitation to remember that despite what our conditioning, society, internal monologue tells us, we are good enough. Not tomorrow, not next week, not when we accomplish another goal, not when we fix that thing that's not quite perfect, but we are good enough as we are today. And what would happen? What if we truly accepted ourselves exactly as we are right now? Not, I'll accept myself when I achieve this thing, when I'm in the relationship, when I lose the weight, whatever the monologue is, the dialogue is. How would that change our relationship to ourself, our life, the world around us, if we really fully trusted that we were enough? That is certainly my biggest lesson. I am 2 sides of the coin. I'm not good enough. I'm too much. This dialogue that I've really had to work through and am still working through in many ways. We have this full month, again, that new moon we had on August 23rd, and the new moon we'll have again on September 21st, 0 degrees to 29. 29 is the final degree in astrology. We have a month to really practice what Virgo works towards releasing in this life, which is perfectionism, thinking that we're not good enough because we haven't achieved enough, done enough, the self-sacrificing that becomes detrimental, the harsh critic, especially the harsh internal critic. Every time we say no to ourselves because we think we aren't ready, we're not good enough, we haven't achieved enough, not enough certifications, all of that, too much, not enough, not qualified, right? What if, this is what Virgo season asks, what if, especially this one, your imperfections or those things that you struggle with, about yourself, what if they were part of your purpose? The thing that happened that you think makes you imperfect or not good enough, what if that makes you the most qualified to share your story, share your gift, share your idea, be in your purpose? The more you allow yourself to really be who you are, quote unquote, imperfections and all, your real, true, authentic self, not the one you put on for show. The more you allow yourself to do that, the more you inspire others to do the same. And trusting and knowing that you are worthy simply because you exist. And if you need some more ammunition or nudge, there is no other lifetime as you. Depending on what you believe in, where you stand in that, maybe you believe this is it, this is all there is. Maybe you believe this is it as who you are, but your soul continues on. Whatever you believe, this is it. What are you waiting for, right? What are you waiting for to happen to decide that you are worthy enough? That's really a slippery slope, and I'm someone who can fully talk from that experience. You know, this is one of my biggest wounds or things I need to work around, this idea that I'm too much or not enough, which is a really interesting internal battle. And all the ways, especially in the initial stages of my loss and grief, it really put me into a place of inaction because of fear of losing more, of not doing it right, of not making the right decision. And this is where this Pisces access comes in, right? Because we can also lean too much into the lack of structure, dream state, not living in reality of what's really happening. But the Virgo Pisces access wants you to remember that, yes, you work hard. Yes, you create the structure. Yes, you find the spaces, the places for discipline and structure so that you can create the magic, so that you can surrender and trust. But this is really your only life as you. Whatever you believe in, this is it. So what are you waiting for? And a quote that I love and I've shared in this Virgo season, a Samuel Beckett quote. It is, ever try, ever fail, no matter, fail better, fail again. And I find that when we can embrace that balance of trying, failing, picking ourselves back up, doing it again, not placing our worth on the failure or the thing that didn't work out. And that doesn't mean not having your feelings about it, right? Virgo and Pisces also have the shadow side of not actually embracing, facing their feeling, of using escapism to do that. And that's not just through addictive behaviors, escapism in any way, escaping reality, escaping the circumstances, only living in the past or the future. So it's that balance between putting the effort in, sharing your truth, your authentic self, your gifts as quote unquote imperfect. I hate that word, these perfect, imperfect. Putting yourself out there and trusting that it will all unfold as it's meant to, loosening the grip a little bit. So if this Virgo season had a theme or a message, it's really stop waiting to be ready. Stop waiting for it to be perfect. Stop waiting for it to be that fairy tale that you thought it would be. That doesn't mean that life won't be magical and beautiful and things won't unfold as it's meant to. But the more you try to control, the more you try to escape, the louder it gets. So this is all there is. And this is heightened because of this eclipse season, this eclipse portal we're in. So moving into this Pisces full moon, every season we have the new and the full moons, they're sibling signs. Pisces is the sibling sign to Virgo, and we just had our Pisces full moon on September 7th. So eclipse season in general is always linked to the north and the south nodes, which I've mentioned before, and is actually when I give a birth chart reading where I start. Something I'm really into right now. It's a point of transformation, and again, bringing up this idea, whether you believe in past lives or not, whether you believe your soul continues, maybe you believe this is it. I like to talk about North Node and South Node. North node is a point in the sky at the moment you're born, and it has a south node, a pair, and it's, again, the sibling signs. Whatever your north node is, its sibling sign will be your south node. I like to say in its simplest form, it's what your soul wants to learn. It's what you're meant to embrace in this life. If you don't believe in past lives, usually your south node is what you're automatically good at. Your north node is what you want to learn to grow and change and evolve in this lifetime. If you believe in past lives, I do. Future lives, I do. Your south node is what you were in a past life. It's what you already learned. Same idea. Your north node is what your soul wants to learn to grow, evolve, expand. It's really the same thing, just your point of view, your belief system and structure, whatever you believe in. So the eclipses each year line up with the north node and the south node. That's why the eclipses usually carry into another year. There's a partial, full moon, all these total and partial, they line up with the nodes. And right now we are in Pisces north node, Virgo south node. So these eclipses that we've had in the spring, we are just having, and we'll have again in February, March, Pisces season time, are asking us to embrace Pisces energy, the evolved side of Pisces, not the shadow side, and release the shadow side of Virgo, because there's also an evolved side of Virgo. And I also happen to be, you're probably listening to this in like every episode, she has something she resonates to. But again, we all have parts of our chart that are ruled by Pisces and Virgo, so we can all find some understanding and grounding in it. But I am a Pisces north node, so my soul wants to learn to embrace, to grow towards that Pisces energy, and my soul wants to release the shadow side of Virgo, like I just brought up a few minutes ago, these karmic placements for me. And eclipse season is connected to the nodes, and it's especially powerful right now for anyone that has placements in Pisces or Virgo. I have a Pisces north node, I have a Pisces midheaven, you might have a Pisces moon, a Pisces rising, a Pisces Venus. So we'll look to these parts of our chart to see how and where it's affecting us. And again, an eclipse season is accelerated in time. Everything feels sped up, condensed, expanded in a really quick way. What normally can take years to shift happens in just a few short weeks in eclipse season. These sudden endings, unexpected beginnings, these things that we've been working around, releasing or embracing for years, we suddenly feel like may happen overnight. And we know, like Virgo, the work we've put in to really building up the diligence, the structure, the commitment to whatever it is. And then once we finally surrender to the outcome, these things start to happen. So in general right now, and if you are a Pisces north node, this is for you, but in general, using these themes, I would say it's a theme of service versus surrender, effort versus faith. And we're releasing the shadow side of Virgo. There's two sides. There's the light and the shadow. And we're releasing these themes of perfectionism, being the helper to a fault, analysis paralysis, escaping through vices or addictions, allowing worry and anxiety to rule our life, doing things the hard way or by ourselves, controlling, micromanaging, dismissal of our intuition, like only leading with logic, and that harsh inner critic and outer critic. The way we speak about other people usually is never as intense or as harsh as we speak to or about ourselves, especially folks who really are hypercritical of others. Imagine what they're doing to themselves. And we're being asked to embrace the light, the evolved side of Pisces, creative freedom, artistic abilities, being the healer, imagination, trusting our intuition, faith in the universe, allowing support, divine guidance from the universe, a higher power, surrender, processing our emotions without our vices, without self-medicating. And I always look to, there are these astrologers, the Astro Twins. Yes, they're twins. And they have an amazing resource page all about the North Node and the South Node, the things we're meant to embrace or release. I'll put that in the show notes if you're curious about what you're meant to embrace and release with your North Node and South Node. And I can't think of a single person that I've read their North Node to or looked at their chart and they've felt a lot of resonance or pull, again, not with the logical mind, but with the deep-rooted understanding that this is what their soul wants to learn and grow towards. And sure, I'm a Pisces North Node, so if you've ever wondered or thought I'm illogical, I'm just embracing my North Node, not in a toxic way. And it's funny, for a long time I was in the Virgo, and I can still easily fall into those places. And when I'm around my family, sometimes it brings out those sides of me because they are so, all of that Virgo energy, so much of the lightness, also the shadow sides. There's no good or bad, right or wrong. There's just the evolved, the unevolved, the light, the dark. We all have it. It's a big part of astrology. But embracing your North Node is rarely about logic. It's about intuition and inner knowing. So whether you're a Pisces North Node or not, you may read yours, Aries, Gemini, whatever it is, and feel that intuitive pull towards it. So these themes of service versus surrender, this total lunar eclipse we had on September 7th, it opens this portal, this time, this space to, again, it's a full moon, so a little bit more releasing around the illusions that we cling to, the ways we escape, so the darker tones or the shadow side of Pisces, the things that we really need clarity around, that we've been confused around, a pattern that we've been constantly repeating. We don't want to resist what is revealed to us, the information. That also doesn't mean that we jump to make a decision. In eclipse season, we are not manifesting. I shy away from my own ritual work. Even though it feels like a sped up time of sudden beginnings and endings and things change on a dime, that doesn't mean that you have to rush and force, especially this season when we're being asked to embrace more of that Pisces energy. How can we surrender to the outcomes? How can we trust our intuition? How can we be grounded in our discernment, Virgo, and know when it is safe to listen to our intuition and surrender to the universe, our Pisces? When we can find the balance between discernment, grounding, structure, and also faith and trust and intuition, that is where the magic happens. This is not a time to, as things are beginning and ending, as we're being asked to surrender, this is not a time to force, to be harsh, to be judgmental of yourself or other people. How can you really stay gentle? How can you stay open and available? How can you lean into that discernment and that surrender? And it's a good reminder that we cannot lose anything that's truly ours. Eclipse season, and especially the way astrology has gotten so much more popular, which I love, but we do this thing as humans. I was just talking about it with ChatGPT. I'll let you guess how I feel about AI. You know me, I have my opinions, or maybe you don't know me, but you can probably tell. I am cautious of it. I think it is incredible in many ways, and I don't want to be a boomer and not embrace change, but I'm weary of the way we use it as a form of escapism or logic. And I am very weary of the way we are using it for therapy, for outsourcing real connection. And that's a shadow side of Pisces energy for sure. When we just get caught up in the future, the dream state, the heightened energy of it all. And I bring this up, I promise there's a point, because when I find that as human beings, we get information and we have to take it. And maybe this is Americans. I am an American. That is not a flex. Not a flex, just a fact. I'm American. And at least in this country, we want to take everything to its extreme, which is a shadow side of Virgo Pisces, like this taking it all the way to the max and not finding the balance, this escapism in this thing. And we've done the same thing with astrology. We've taken things like eclipse season, Mercury retrograde, Saturn retro, all these things, we make them good or bad. Oh, they're so dramatic, they're so final. Oh. Okay, it's just information. It's one language or way of understanding the world that may work for you or it may not. It may give you certain insights. It may not resonate with you in other ways. And that's why I bring up AI, because I think we're pushing it to the extreme, to the max. We're using it as a source of solving all our problems in therapy, and it's driving me crazy. I can't stand it. So let's not do the same thing with eclipse season. While it does feel dramatic and final, why we want to take it to the extreme and feel like we have to reinvent ourselves our whole life, can we get comfortable with being in the discomfort of the in-between? This is hard for me. My Virgo shadow really, my Virgo South Node, my Virgo family, lineage, upbringing, and how funny, Virgo for me is in the house of foundations, family, lineage, ancestral roots. So for those of you who think astrology is not real, my life has mimicked that, but it doesn't have to be all or nothing. Can we sit in the space? Can we find enough space between the structure and the discipline that we've created and our trust and our faith, and it's all unfolding out as it's meant to sit in the magic of that, to understand that it's just the universe's way of, I think Spirit Daughter said, course correcting, removing the blocks that are in our way, that are keeping us out of alignment, and just creating more space for the places that we're meant to go. Sometimes, whether we agree or disagree with it, especially when we're holding on for dear life, when we're white knuckling it, when we are forcing, acting, making a square fit into a circle. And this Pisces full moon, being that it's a total lunar eclipse, for any of my more fact, science-based folks in the house, astrology, let's not even get into that right now. I don't need anyone coming for me. I'm not a maha. So a lunar eclipse occurs when the Earth positions itself between the sun and the moon, casting our planet's shadow across the lunar surface. Again, wherever you are in the world, you may or may not be seeing it. So it is an intense time. Yes, it does feel dramatic and final. Yes, it does feel intense. Yes, it feels deeply emotional this go around because it's in Pisces. But can we sit in it? Much like my Leo season episode, being nonchalant is overrated, the way we've, including AI, talked ourselves out of feeling our feelings is a problem. The way we've tried to meditate ourselves out of experiences, the way we've tried to breath work ourselves out of actually sometimes just feeling our feelings. Again, these are really broad statements. Someone's going to clip this one day and hold it over my head. There are so many beautiful, incredible ways to regulate our nervous system. And I truly do believe that sometimes the most regulating thing we can do is lose our shit, cry our eyes out, stand up for ourselves firmly, releasing the thing that's taking up so much space in our bodies, in our brains, in our hearts. And sometimes that release only looks like actually letting it go through a somatic practice, through a physical practice. So, how can we use the energy of Virgo, discernment, what I should give into, make space for, what is not for me, and Pisces, this intuitive gift that Pisces has to really feel everything, to feel the feelings, to trust and know that every time we deal with something ending, yes, it is painful. Yes, you should feel all of it, and also know that it is making space for a beginning. We talk about new moons being times for beginnings, full moons being time for endings, and really, both of them require releasing, letting go, not just a full moon, making space. And that is this Pisces full moon. How do we allow ourselves to feel it all, to feel everything and trust that we are safe to let it go. Spirit Daughter said in their Virgo Pisces Eclipse workbook that they do, that I love and always refer to every season, dance with what you can control, flow with what you cannot. And that is what this season is asking of us. Those spaces where we are grinning and bearing it, white knuckling it, forcing and sacrificing the magic because we only want to be in the logic. You all know that person that is so logical. And it is a gift and it is a curse. And you also know that person that has no structure, no systems, only lives in the future tense, is constantly escaping reality or escaping what's actually happening in their life. And you know how detrimental that can be. That, this idea I'm seeing a lot on social media, Delulu is the Solulu. Being delusional to a certain extent, like anything, is powerful. And it can also be really detrimental in some ways. So again, this balance of these Virgo, Pisces energy. Pisces wants us to surrender, to create space for surrender, to really understand our attachment to things having to be only our way. And trusting that a lot of times the universe, God, source, whomever, whatever you believe in, has something planned for you if you can put in the work, make the effort, make your feelings known, make your desires known, take the action that's needed, this Virgo diligence, towards your goals, towards your desires, your dreams, and then surrender to the outcome. In acting school, it was always about, making the steps, doing your homework, and then full release to what unfolded in the moment. Making the effort and then surrendering to the possibility. And after we had this full moon in Pisces on September 7th, yes, we have this new moon in Virgo again in those 29 degrees, in that final degree. And it's all about creating the space. It's all about opening ourselves up to the work that we did, to what's possible, to what is meant for us, and really embracing that more evolved side of Virgo, grounding in your authenticity, grounding in what you know, grounding in your knowledge, grounding in your capability, while still finding those spaces for the magic. And something a little different this episode I wanted to share with you was each rising sign, where this eclipse season, where these Virgo new moons, this Pisces full moon is showing up in your birth chart. And all you need to do is know your rising sign. And again, I do whole sign charts. When I read a birth chart, I look it up through whole sign. Placidus is another option. That's not what I do. If you're on CoStar, it might tell you your rising sign is in a different house. Listen, friend, I do whole sign. That's why my apps are Channy and the pattern. CoStar's not for me. But if you like it, I love it. So this is what I do. If you look at a Placidus chart and it says your rising sign is in the 12th house, that's why things are different. Whole sign, in my opinion, is just a more complete composite of your birth chart, and it only allows one sign in one house. So we'll start at the beginning with Aries. If you are an Aries rising, this Virgo season, eclipse season, is showing up in your 6th house and your 12th house. Virgo sits in your 6th house of health, systems, service, being of service in daily life. And Pisces sits in your 12th house of endings, your subconscious, what remains hidden, the spiritual realm in your life. So these new moons will be showing up in Virgo in your health, how and where you are of service, your daily life, your routines, and your 12th house in Pisces of like what sits in the subconscious, what's going on. It may really feel like the endings there. Depending on where the new moon is or the full moon is, that's how it'll be showing up. For Taurus rising, Virgo sits in your 5th house of creativity, play, children, romance. Pisces sits in your 11th house, friends, community, networks. So depending on where you're looking, whether it was that full moon we just had in Pisces, you may have felt some sort of releasing, ending around community, networks, friendship. If it's the new moon in Virgo, you may feel new beginnings around romance, creativity, play, your inner child, just highlighting these parts of your chart. If you're a Gemini rising like me, Virgo sits in your 4th house of home, family, foundation, lineage. Pisces sits in your 10th house. It's your career, your public-facing roles, your legacy, what you're leaving behind. So depending on what you're looking at, the full moon or the new moon, if it's the full moon we just had in Pisces, you may feel some big transformation around career, your relationship in public, to the public, the legacy of what you're leaving behind. If it's the new moon, you may be working around your relationship to your family, your foundation, something going on with your home. Cancer rising, Virgo is your 3rd house of communication, siblings, your mind, how you think. Pisces is your 9th house of travel, philosophy, higher education. So again, whether you're working with the new moon or the full moon, if it's the new moon, you may have found some new beginnings around how your mind is working. Maybe you're doing a lot of mindset work. Maybe you're shifting your thinking, your communication style. If it's Pisces full moon, maybe you're experiencing some release around your philosophy towards life. Maybe you've got a big travel experience that's coming up that's going to be deeply transformative for you. Or maybe you're ending or beginning some new space in higher education. Maybe you're going back to school. Maybe you're starting a new endeavor in terms of learning. It could be anything in that regard. If you're a Leo rising, Virgo is your 2nd house of resources, self-worth, money. Pisces is your 8th house of birth, death, transformation, inheritance, other people's money. So depending on what you're looking at, what you're eager to understand and ground into, the new moons in Virgo might have highlighted your resources, your self-worth, your relationship to that, your money. And keeping in mind that resources aren't just money. They're anything that we use to support, fulfill, nourish. And Pisces, if it was for the full moon, you may have, if you're Leo rising, you really may have experienced or have been in this process, this eclipse season of going through a big birth, death transformation in your own life, transforming in some way. Lots of endings and new beginnings here for you in this eclipse season and portal. If you're a Virgo rising, Virgo is your 1st house. It's your house of self, body, identity, your approach to life. And Pisces is your 7th house, relationships and partnerships. So for these new moons in Pisces, maybe you're starting some new habits or routines. Maybe you're redefining your relationship to your body. Maybe you're redefining how you show up in the world, literally or figuratively. And if you're looking at the full moon in Pisces, maybe there were some necessary clearing out of relationships, of partnerships. Relationships aren't just romantic. So any way you are in relationship to other people or the world around you, this full moon may have invited you to reassess, release, make space for newness as well, new relationships, new partners, new ways to be in companionship to other people. If you're a Libra rising, Virgo is in your 12th house. Your 12th house, again, is all about ending, subconscious, what remains hidden. And Pisces is in your 6th house of health, systems, how and where you are of service, your daily life and routines. So for the new moons in Virgo, that new moon on August 23rd, the new moon we'll have on September 21st, that 0 to 29 degrees, you may have felt like you've lived a whole lifetime of getting deep down into your subconscious, of changing, of beginnings and endings, really digging deep into what remains hidden. And for this full moon in Pisces and this eclipse portal, you may have felt some new ways of wanting to be in relationship to your health, to your services, your daily life, your routines. Maybe you're starting a completely new routine or recommitting to one that really feels nourishing and supportive to you. If you're a Scorpio rising, Virgo is in your 11th house of friends, community, networks. Pisces is in your 5th house of creativity, play, children, romance. These new moons may be spotlighting new friendships, new networking opportunities, new ways to be in community with other people, or releasing any of the shadow sides of those for yourself. Maybe you're embracing new ideas of how important those structures, those places, those communities are to you. And Pisces, this eclipse season, the full moon in Pisces happening in your 5th house of creativity, play, children, romance. Again, more beginnings and endings in terms of your relationship to your inner child. If you have children, maybe this is a really powerful time for you and them in your relationships together, or romance and creativity, pleasure, all the things that light you up. Maybe you're clearing things out to make more space to focus on these aspects of your life. If you're a Sag rising, Virgo's in your 10th house, career, public-facing roles, legacy. If you're of Sag rising, Pisces is in your 4th house of home, family, foundations. So Sag rising, these parts of your chart will be lit up. Maybe, again, with these 2 new moons in Virgo, new beginnings and endings around your career, public-facing roles. Maybe you're completely ending and redefining what you want in your career. Maybe you're starting a new one. Pisces, full moon in the 4th house, coming up against endings or changes in your foundation. Maybe you're moving house quite literally, your lineage, you're uncovering different parts of your family system and structures. Capricorn rising, Virgo is in the 9th house, which is all about travel, philosophy, higher education. Pisces is in your 3rd house of communication, siblings, mind, and thinking. So this Virgo in the 9th, Pisces in the 3rd, where are you being invited to expand in terms of travel? Again, maybe there's a trip. Maybe you're, for the first time ever, really wanting to embark on a trip, literally or metaphorically, to expand your life philosophy, to expand your learning, your knowledge, your understanding. Maybe you're embarking on some sort of experience as a teacher. And Pisces in the 3rd house, some endings, some new beginnings with siblings, communication, your mindset work, how and where you think, releasing of old limiting beliefs that are keeping you stuck. Aquarius rising, Virgo is in the 8th house. So birth, death, transformation, inheritance. Pisces is in the 2nd house, resources, self-worth, money. So if you're an Aquarius rising, you'll be coming up against these themes of transformation and self-worth. New moons inviting you to step fully into this cycle of transformation, this cycle of inheritance. And we don't just inherit money, we inherit lots of different things. Pisces is inviting you to really release outdated beliefs, ideas you have, toxic relationship to money, to your self-worth, to your resources. So lots of change, sudden endings, new beginnings in this part of transforming and understanding your worth. And if you're a Pisces rising, our final sign, Pisces is in your 1st house of self, body, identity, your approach to life. Virgo is in your 7th house of relationship and partnerships. So my Pisces risings, you are being invited to completely transform, embrace your sense of identity, to trust that you are not just required to be one way. Your Virgo energy in the 7th house, maybe you're creating new systems, structures, letting go of control in relationships and partnerships, putting your faith and your trust in them. So those are the rising signs. And like I shared earlier, I don't do ritual work during eclipse season. I don't manifest during eclipse season. The energy is chaotic. It can feel, like I said, heightened, dramatic, intense. So I do not want my manifestations to be brought or born from a place of that chaos, that intensity, that upheaval. So I choose not to. But I will leave you some questions to think about. I'm shying away from giving you rituals, but just some questions to really sit into, to create space for. Where in your life are you grin and bearing it, white knuckling it, forcing it? Where in life are you sacrificing your personal brand of magic because you believe this outdated idea that you need to be perfect? What would you do differently in your life, even just today, if you knew and trusted that everything was working out in your favor? What would your intuition say if you let go of overriding it with logic? What would your intuition say if you favored it just for a day over your logical mind? And if you struggle with control, micromanaging, letting go of control, like I am certainly a recovering control freak, I deal with it all the time. What is the fear around letting go of control? Why do you fear being quote unquote out of control? Because really, that fear of being out of control, I find in the work that I do, especially in my breathwork classes or my somatic experiences that I offer for folks, the fear of letting go of control is way louder than what's on the other side of it. They fear letting go of control because they won't be able to stop crying. They won't be able to stop grieving. They won't be able to stop being sad. And one of my favorite quotes around feelings, which I think is so potent for Pisces season, is from Raina Maria Rilke. Let everything happen to you, beauty and terror, no feeling is final. And I think we get caught up in control and micromanaging and forcing and that white knuckling it because we think, well, if I'm sad, I'm stuck in sadness, that's it. I'll never be happy again. Or if I'm heartbroken, my heart will never mend. And really, those thoughts are just ego. It's our ego's desire to only be in one state, to only be in control, to only be in that ego self. Hearts break all the time, they mend. We lose. People die. We lose relationship, we lose jobs, we lose opportunities, and we find a way to start again. We find newness and beauty and more. No feeling is final. No state of being is final. So how can we trust and know that the fear of letting go of control is actually so much worse than the experience of doing it? And that is a lot of information, but that is eclipse season. There's so much to unpack. Saturn being in Pisces, we're also reviewing. I know I didn't touch on that too much. Depending on where your Saturn placement is, it may have more of an effect on you than other people, but Saturn being in Pisces is one final review of all of this, all of the places and the spaces where we don't listen to our intuition, where we think we can rule with logic 24/7, where we lean into escapism, where we are overly delusional, where we avoid, and it's asking us to face all of those spaces and places in us. And in general, the mutable signs may be feeling all of this energy a lot more. So Virgo and Pisces are mutable, and Gemini and Sag. I've got them all in my chart. So if you do too, you're not alone. But allowing yourself to actually sit, and as change is happening, as all of these unexpected endings, beginnings, this short span of time, this heightened span of time cosmically, can you keep leaning into discernment and service and trust and surrender? That is the Virgo season episode, this eclipse season episode. Thank you so much for listening. If you have any questions, if you're not sure how to find your rising sign, please reach out to me. Please DM me. The Virgo season playlist is in the show notes. It will never be lost on me that you take time to listen to this. And if I think about that for too long, I will feel my feelings. And I will do that on my own time and spare you from that. But thank you for tuning in. Thank you for taking the time to make space for yourself. Just lean into discernment and surrender this season and trust that nobody knows what you need better than you. I can't wait to be back with you again next time and breathe in and scream out with you.